Welcome to Building Resilience in an Era of Relentless Cyber Threats, an expert panel discussion brought to you live by CXO Inc. I'm your host and moderator, Joseph Wolfgram. For those of you I'm meeting for the first time, I'm a retired IT executive after spending more than 30 years in higher education, philanthropy, and healthcare IT. I'm here today to set the tone for this discussion and ask the questions you want to know the answers to, which will be informed by our honored panelists. In today's threat environment, data breaches, ransomware attacks, and service disruptions are no longer a question of if, but when. Technology and security leaders are under immense pressure to protect core systems and ensure continuity, all while navigating rising complexity, constrained budgets, and increasingly sophisticated attackers. What does it take to safeguard operations in a world where resilience must be the default? To lead confidently through this turbulence, organizations must evolve beyond reactive security. This means adopting resilient frameworks that ensure recovery, protect digital assets, and enable continuity of service, even under pressure. But resiliency is not the only technical, it's strategic. It requires cultural alignment, cross-functional collaboration, and a clear understanding of risk across the business. Thank you for joining us today for a collaborative discussion focused on real-world strategies to future-proof your business. Together, we'll examine how today's leading organizations are operationalizing resilience, managing increasingly complex cyber threats, and setting new standards for continuity, preparedness, and security. That's a lot of ground to cover, and we have a short time to get it all done. So let's get this conversation started by having our panelists introduce themselves. Kris Hagel is CIO at Peninsula School District. Kris, appreciate you making the time to be here with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to be here. And Ashok got to the stage just in time. Ashok Kakani is the CISO at Compunnel, USA. Thanks for joining us today, Ashok.
Yeah, thanks for making time to talk to us.
Now, I love where you're at. You look somewhere very tropical, so I'm glad you can make the time for us.
Yeah, I'm at the beach right now.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, let's dive in. Kris, I'll throw this question to you first. What are the biggest challenges and opportunities for CIOs in the coming years?
Well, I'm going to go kind of in the same realm because I think both of these things kind of tie together. When I look at the biggest challenges and opportunities, I think a lot about where the world is taking us with artificial intelligence right now. Um, you know, I I'm spending time today with, staff members developing some AI tooling for our organization and for our teachers in our school district. But also I spend a lot of time worrying about the threats that come out of that as well. So, it's one of those things, and this is my 26th year, I think, in being a technology leader. And, it's one of those things that I've seen so much promise coming out of these days, but also some of the things that you have to worry about with this too. We see increasing cyber threats, we see increasing phishing attempts, we see increasing quality of phishing attempts, and some of these things that are really, in getting into the point of voice spoofing and cloning, and some of these things that we've taken for granted previously, that nobody would be able to do. Now the capabilities are there for. So I think there's so many positives, but there's also so many challenges, and I think that's what so many of us are going to have to be faced with and worrying about in the coming years.
So true, so true. With every good technology advancement, there are corollary security concerns that we need to be aware of. And working in higher education and the education field in general, I mean, you mentioned spoofing and deep fakes and things like that. I wonder how we are going to protect against things like testing, cheating on tests and things like that. Are these things that are active discussions?
Oh, they're constant. I mean, you look at, we were just having a discussion less than an hour ago about, some of these new things like some of the AI computer use that, looks like a human is actually operating a computer. And so, over the last couple of years with the onset of AI, we've done a lot of work on, well, all right, we'll look and see if something is copied and pasted, or if it all just magically appears in these Google documents or whatever. And now you can just say, ChatGPT agent, I'd like you to go in and type this word for word into my Google Doc, and it looks like the kid's working on it themselves. Like, there's simple things like that. I mean, I've seen demos. We haven't experienced any of them yet, but I've seen theoretical demos of um, just AI being able to log in to, say, a learning management platform, do all of the work for the students, and then submit them as if they had done it themselves. And so um, it changes everything about the way that we do things in K-12 education. And we're having a lot of hard conversations because it takes a lot of thought and change, because this isn't something that you just block and hope it goes away. That's not the technology that we're looking at anymore. So yeah, there's a lot of change that's going to happen. And that's another piece that I talk a lot about, from the CIO perspective, is everybody looks at you these days as like the person that's going to change the organization and make and handle the change management behind, getting people comfortable with these rapidly evolving technologies and how's that's going to change their work and their workflows and everything that they do. So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a super great opportunity to watch what the children do with new technology, because there's no doubt they will come up with the most creative uses and applications for it. You may be able to sell some of that insight to corporate corporations as research.
Yep. Yep.
I love it. Ashok, let's go to you. Now, in your position, I believe that, let's see, yeah, you're a Chief Information Security Officer. So, what do you see as the biggest challenges and opportunities facing you in the coming years?
Yeah, I think primarily whatever the Chris was talking about, right? I think going back to the basics is once again very critical. So primarily what we try to do is primarily called as zero trust, right? So don't trust anything, primarily validate every time, right? So we have been working with few of the right colleges, etc. Primarily is that no restrict some of those things, BYOD devices, right? That way you can actually monitor what process and what browser extensions are running on a machine, so that you can restrict some of those things where the AI agent is going to do something instead of the students, right? So that is something we have done it. And then from the voice cloning and then video cloning perspective, there are security tools available to validate whether it is a human who is calling, not the individual, right? So primarily from the employee perspective, we have their information already been captured, so that when they call the call center, when they will be asked to maybe read some word or read some numbers. That way, we have a mechanism to detect whether it is a human who is calling or the actually the bot which is calling. So these are some of the security preventive controls we have put it in place, right? But as far as the threat is concerned, right? So now with AI coming in, we are seeing new threats coming up, because now even kiddies can write some malicious code, right? You just ask the right question, then the AI is going to give them. So that means, right, there are more risks coming out of it. So that means, right, bringing that basic layer in defense, we call it layer in defense, and basic security hygiene is something to get started with, right? So that's what we do, put wherever controls possible, and then put some policies, right? Acceptable usage policies, so that the students or the employees are aware of it. They are not supposed to use it. And we also restrict some of the AIs to, even the website to be accessed, right? So example, right, we restrict ChatGPT on our corporate devices, right? So that they don't copy any sensitive code or data into the platform.
Yeah, it is a delicate balance, enabling the innovation of new technologies, at the same time keeping people safe and protecting corporate data and information, personal information. as well. So it's a big job. But you mentioned zero trust. You mentioned defense and layers. And there's a lot of moving parts going on there. So appreciate your vigilance in your role.